So it's still on. Yeah.
Yeah, talk closer to it. Say something. Say something.
Something.
God, okay, yeah, it's working. God. Number 4 of Obscured, we have With or Without You. It's a song by the band U2. And I actually haven't listened to much of their material, but I've generally heard good things. And this song was nice, so cool. This song was written in 1987.
Really?
I was not born yet.
That was more than Nueve. Looks like it was written by the whole band. Adam Clayton, The Edge, Edgy Poop, Bono, and Larry Mullen.
Okay.
Which is cool. That's cool that they all share the song.
They all pitched in. This song is apparently, it's actually quite funny. This explanation just basically says it's a lose-lose situation. So
right.
Because you're struggling to live with someone and you're struggling to live without them. So it's kind of just an overall an uncomfortable situation.
Yeah, it's for me. It's very much like donuts, right?
Yeah, you passed down that gene to me, so I know that feeling very well.
Because donuts, right?
Yeah.
But you can't you cannot live with donuts. You can't.
You can every once in a while.
No. Yeah. But then, the reason you can't every once in a while is because you can't live without them. It's both.
Exactly.
I wonder if they wrote this song thinking about donuts.
Entirely true. Yes.
Can we DM them and find that out?
DM freaking U2, man.
Yeah, so With or Without You, I don't know why we decided it was another one of those 3-part harmony project things, but I don't know why that one. U2 is one of those bands that didn't really make that much of an appearance in our house.
Yeah.
Y'all were growing up.
Yeah.
And I've never, huge. Yeah. I appreciate the sound that they came up with is, at the time was like, wow. But lyrically, I thought it was kind of a cool song. So I have to ask you a question. I know I'm not allowed to ask questions. I'm just supposed to do what I'm told. But what are the lyrics at the end that always made me a little uncomfortable?
My hands are tied.
Yeah, and
my body's bruised.
Did you? I mean,
nothing to.
I had a weird experience a while ago where I was playing a house concert and there was some lyric that was similar to that, and somebody got upset about it. You know. And it's obviously metaphorical. Everything's not everything.
Right.
Did that ever cross your mind as like no? Okay.
No, there's a song called "Grenade" by Bruno Mars, and there's a lyric, a phrase that references, black, and blue.
No, okay.
And I'm like, it's metaphorical. I know that it can be a sensitive kind of image and topic for some people, which is, again, something Elijah and I have been encountering when we go out to open mics.
You're in Portland.
And we're in Portland, and so they'll kind of start things with a warning, and at least to give any kind of, for any of the artists performing, if they think it is relevant, to provide a trigger warning.
Yeah.
But with this, I didn't. No, I didn't.
Really stick in your craw. It's such an odd.
I've heard all kinds of different lyrics and different songs, and this one, to me, the whole and the treatment and the arrangement, it's just a moment where you just kind of, say these words and you move on to the bigger picture.
Right, because ideally the emotion of that and the metaphorical impact, sort of outweighs the literal part of it. But I was always kind of curious about that. It's like,
but get this now. So apparently Bono, he kind of told audiences that yes, the song is about you can't necessarily live with or without someone, but he also offered kind of a second explanation, a second lens, if you will, perspective, if you will, of the meaning of the song. And he says that it could also be interpreted as you talking to yourself.
Mm.
You can't live with yourself, but you can't live without yourself.
Yeah.
Well, if you apply that context, then that kind of also changes the intensity of those last
I
lyrics.
know for sure I can't live without myself.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident in that as well.
Yeah.
But can you live with yourself?
Apparently I can. I'm more than nueve. Am I allowed to say that this might be one of my least favorite
Yeah.
arrangements?
Say that. Is there a particular reason, or is it more so because the actual song choice was just not high on the list for you?
I think that might have something to do with it. I'm not wild about the bass playing. By the way, I'm the bass player. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But I like the vocal production. I'm happy with that. Really.
That came out really good.
I think that part's good. My vision of this song, when y'all listen to it, is that it peters out at the end. It's like the ultimate surrender.
Yeah.
It's like surrendering to the fact that you're in this quandary, right? I mean, that's the way I envisioned it.
Right.
So when I was collaborating with others, they didn't hear it that way. So it ends big. And I don't think the final product suffers at all. It's just a different take on it. But it's funny how I've never been able to kind of never been able to accept that.
Yeah, I can see it both ways. The way we end The Wind, which we'll get to in a second.
Yeah.
That's kind of more of the treatment that you were probably imagining. And then
I probably do that too much.
No, because I think you're right. Sometimes the emotion calls for it. But this one, because you have so many voices at the end, I do appreciate how it kind of doesn't peter out, kind of does
support behind it.
Energy, yeah. And also that kind of last statement is, I think it's you've left me with, or I've gotten something like that. You have nothing to win and nothing to lose. So that's like your ultimate.
At the very top of your range.
Yeah. So song number 5 on this album is "Light My Fire," originally performed by The Doors.
Also written by the entire band: Jim Morrison, Robbie Krieger, John Densmore, and Ray Manzarek.
Oh wow! Let's see. When was it written? It says it was written in 1966.
Wow, that's earlier than I would expected. Yeah. Those guys were jazzers, by the way.
Were they?
Yeah, a lot of them. Robbie Krieger, Ray Manzarek, they love jazz.
I don't know too much about The Doors. They were never a band that I personally sought out.
Yeah.
I know most of their like popular hits, but so I'm not sure how this one came to be.
I never liked The Doors when I was growing up, mostly because they didn't have a bass player. So I was like,
personal offense.
So, but then I think on their records and tours, they had a bass player. I can't remember who it was, but always very good. This is just a song. I think I just thought, wow, what would it be like to do a vibey version of "Light My Fire"? It was that simple.
This one had such a transformation, because when we first decided on the arrangement we were going to do, you're right, it was just a vibey kind of slowed down, Kalen on the mic type deal. But then it went through several transformations with you and Paul.
Yeah, I sent the original. I don't even remember what it was. I have it someplace to Paul. And Paul, the thing that's great about Paul is he's honest. He says, if I were to hear this, I would skip it. He said, if I were to hear this on the radio, I would skip it. And I was like, oh. And he was right. It was just sort of, it just wasn't a very provocative take.
Yeah, well.
We kind of ended up taking it a little bit to like Ireland. I, I don't know why.
100%. It sounds like something straight out of Outlander. And I love it. Outlander is one of my favorite shows, so it's amazing.
But that was one of those things where I'm like, oh, just hearing the intro, just hearing it, I'm like, oh, it's cold and it's rainy, and you know, just
And there are men in kilts.
yeah. And then there was this whole thing of, oh, and it's called Light My Fire. Anyway, that was kind of, at that point I thought, oh yeah, this is going to work pretty well. But it's really a simple arrangement. There's really nothing to it. It's just D minor, the saddest of all keys, and it just drones around in D minor for a while. But Paul plays, the guitar playing is beautiful on it. So
Yeah, as always.
that one came out.
When you first hear like the lyrics and the title of the song, a lot of people think it's like a kind of romantic sexual meaning behind the song, but according to these smart minds on Google and some of the band members themselves, actually, that's not really what it's about. It's more so about fully giving yourself to another person and fully investing yourself in the experience of life, love, and death is what would be my takeaway from what I've read.
So would I be correct to infer that the Light My Fire part is to actually light that fuse that only a very few people you will run into in your life to be able to play?
Yeah, I would say that. And also you want to have experiences that are like that too in life, right? You want to have where you're just like completely kind of consumed and energized by when you're,
when are you gonna have that experience? Because I already had it. It's exhausting.
Yeah, you're way more than Nueve, so you've had plenty of those.
Way more than Nueve.
I like this arrangement. I think it's really original. I do. But
Yeah.
I also could see it being very specific for like a movie trailer or some kind of genre.
Yeah, it's a big arrangement. That's the thing that I didn't, because my first vision was to have just this slight, tiny little tendrils of sound, and then have you sing the way you sing over it.
Yeah.
But that's the beautiful thing about the way you the way you sing. It would work that way, and it also works having this sort of very giant, big.
I'm glad it worked out. Yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah, I like listening to this one.
All right, our 6th track on the Obscured album is The Wind by Cat Stevens.
The Wind.
He's one of my favorite artists, honestly.
Me too.
Yeah, after growing up with his voice so prominently.
You heard a lot of Cat Stevens, didn't you?
So it's very nostalgic for me. I also just think he is a really great, honest singer. I think I like the honesty in his voice, and I love his arrangements. They're super easy listening. The Wind was written in 1971. Didn't pass your test. Sorry, Dad. I believe I picked this song. It was probably one, along with Eleanor Rigby, this was one that I memorized growing up and just loved the crap out of it. It's a nice, short, fairly easy to sing song, so I picked it up pretty quick. We were like, hey, how do we take it's like a minute something?
It's a minute and 43 seconds.
Yeah. So how do you take a minute and 43 seconds and turn it into more of an acceptable cover song length? And that's where I pass the ball to you, Dad.
Well, now, because we made it into 5 minutes and 41 seconds. Yay, us.
Overachievers. Yeah.
Well, lyrically, it's not complicated.
No, it's not. It's very straightforward. Apparently, this song is an examination, kind of a personal examination by Cat Stevens of spirituality and faith, and listening to his surroundings and his experiences to kind of guide him in the direction to take in life.
It's a very innocent melody.
Yeah.
Sort of, it's innocent lyrically, right? So, yeah, it was mostly about just sticking with that thing. The way you sing it, that sort of relaxed, sort of almost a laissez-faire kind of an approach.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's originally I had piano in there. I had a bunch of stuff happening, and as you know, we got your part on there and stuff. Suddenly, I was like, the piano's kind of heavy and clunky, so most of it is just upright bass and a synth pad. Kind of a lot of it. And then it gets into a thicker, more involved.
Isn't there a harp on it, or am I crazy?
Yeah, there's like a harp ostinato. There's a motor that happens. We talked about maybe having an acoustic guitar, and the harp is sonically kind of a weird thing. We were sort of we spent some time trying to figure out how to keep the ear guessing, in terms of the sounds that were going into your ears. That's one thing that I've always been, I grew up listening to albums. And you grew up listening to albums too, but it's much more of a playlist world now.
That's true.
But when I was listening to music, it was about albums, and the thing that I was always sensitive to is that, everybody'd say, "Oh, I don't listen to that band. Everything sounds the same." That's like what everybody said. And it's not true, except that sonically, sometimes the sound of what they're making sounds very similar.
Yeah.
Lyrically, it's different. Tempo-wise, it's different.
Right. There's a signature.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
So I've always been hyper sensitive to that. All right, what do we feed the ear next to kind of keep things interesting?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where the harp came from. And then on that, at the very last minute, I called up my friend Tom Kubis, who's a wonderful composer. And I don't say it's a little known fact, but a lot of people know him as a composer and not a saxophone player. And he's just a tremendous saxophone player. And I said, "Hey, I'm working on this project with my daughter. Here's this song that has like 4 chords in it. You want to do something on this?" And he sent me back 2 versions. And I literally sat there and I thought, I could use either one of these.
Yeah.
Or, comp them together. So I think I used the first half of the first one and the second half of the second. But it's one of my favorite things on the album, just the emotion that he plays with.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it really, really is special. And he's one of those people who's kind of had a huge impact musically in my life, because he was kind enough to let me play in his band back in the early 90s when I was learning to play. And he really encouraged a lot of the guys in the band just to go, try stuff, experiment, try anything's a good idea. He had that spirit about him. So it's a real honor to have him on this. It's really,
that's so cool.
Yeah.
Aw, I like that for you.
Good musicians who are good people.
That rules, man.
That rules.
So song number 7 of Obscured is Sledgehammer, baby. It's by Peter Gabriel.
He wrote that song.
He wrote that song. He wrote it in 1986.
Oh, I knew that.
80s, baby.
Yeah.
Peter Gabriel was another voice I heard a lot growing up.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, and it was always a fun time.
Yeah.
His stuff is very unique, very specific. His songs. So, Sledgehammer. I don't remember why we picked this one of all of them, but
that's another song I liked.
Yeah.
I don't remember if there was a particular reason.
I think that it was a good choice because the original version is quite a stark contrast to the sound that we usually produce when we create stuff together. So I had fun singing a song that, originally it's just like, how would you describe the original version of Sledgehammer?
funky. It's just
It's funky. It's like
yeah,
swinging. It's like loud.
yeah. It's just
Just goes for it, you know. So,
energetic and yeah.
yeah. I will say that this is probably one of our happier, funkier arrangements of all 18 covers, and even if you include the 10 Nat King Cole covers.
Yeah, this is probably the most upbeat thing.
Yeah, that's not our usual thing, but
And we kind of went for more of an older retro R&B.
yeah, I love that.
version of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was another fun one to try to do. Yeah, it's kind of a challenge to do just because the original is just so stained in my brain.
Yeah, it's very much so like an earworm. It's very hard to undo that.
And we pretty much do it kind of like, just in terms of the form, like he does, until the end.
Yeah.
Then it departs
Pretty true.
someplace quite different, which ended up really being kind of a fun experiment.
I was quite intimidated by the very long outro that he does. I thought, there's no way that I can pull that off.
Right.
I did. I mean, I was able to create something good for our version. So.
Well, I remember when we were working on it, you kind of tried to. Your first approach is to sort of not copy him, but sort of go.
I should emulate him for sure.
Emulate him. Yeah. And then we sort of talked about it, and I remember pulling it apart and saying, "Oh, let's use all this material and all his phrasing, but change the attitude of it, and rather have it be." Because the ending of it is kind of a primal scream. I mean, he's really just going for it.
Yeah.
And the way you ended up doing it is almost recitative. It's almost like you're reciting this.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know.
It's definitely a dialed down version.
It's almost like if you were at a football game and a cheerleader was cheering, but just kind of almost a monotone under her voice, but using cheer words. Does that make sense? It's like the dichotomy between what you're singing and the way you're singing it is truly enchanting. And then we have Michael Stever playing a sort of a Miles Davis-ish trumpet solo behind the whole thing, and it just sort of adds to the chaotic kind of nature. Anyway, it's fun. That was really fun to put together.
Yeah, that was fun.
And Paul, that was Paul's idea to do the vocoder on the end and all that, all those other colors and stuff. Yeah,
I like when we indulge in some of those effects.
Yeah,
it's cool because they're always done so tastefully by you guys. It's always
that's him, because I'm always like, turn it up, and a little goes a long way, and so he's definitely more reserved when it comes to that stuff. Oh, what's this song about?
We don't have to talk about that.
Okay.
This song is about what everyone thinks it's about.
I don't think it's about that.
It's full of innuendos, sexual innuendos. Apparently, it was a song that broke barriers because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. See you next week.
Your face.